gain and water retention. So weight gain and hypoglycemia are the two biggest challenges for any practicing internist or diabetologist. And I think that we need to keep in mind what to do about that. And therefore the search for new drugs is focusing on two things. It is focusing on minimizing hypoglycemia risk, and it is focusing on not causing weight gain. And possibly in the long run, preserving the beta cell also, so pancreas does not decline, its function does not decline over years. So to this effect, I will very briefly tell you what about the incretin effect, what actually it is, without trying to confuse you at all. Just see the left panel, and if you see, this is the insulin response, okay? The pink line and the green line. This is important to understand. If you don't understand this, we can't understand incretins. And many of you may already be well aware of this, but I'll still take you through this. If you give glucose oral versus glucose IV, when you give glucose IV, this is the blue line, that is the insulin response. When you give glucose oral, the pink line, that is the insulin response. So, which means that when you give glucose orally, you get a bigger insulin response, which seems opposite of what one would expect. Intuitionally, one would expect you give something IV, it gives better response. You give antibiotic IV, it gives better response. But in this case, when glucose goes through the gut, it excites more of an insulin response than when it's given IV. So there is something happening in our gut, in our stomach, in our intestine, which is promoting insulin response. Right? So you have a certain insulin response when you give IV, and you have a huge response when you give oral. And this difference is because there are certain hormones released from the gut, from the GI tract, that stimulate insulin secretion. So what is glucose doing? Glucose is itself getting absorbed and going to the pancreas, exciting insulin. It's also releasing certain hormones from our stomach and intestine, which go to the pancreas and stimulate insulin more. So therefore, when you take glucose orally, you get more insulin secretion than when you take glucose intravenously. And that's this effect, the intestinal effect, this is called the incretin effect. Okay? So this effect of glucose stimulation, insulin stimulation, related to hormones released from the stomach and intestine is called the incretin effect. And this effect is reduced in type 2 diabetes. So, what are these incretins? And without again boring you with chemical details, we just remember one, forget the others, GLP-1. GLP-1 is the main hormone that is released from the intestine when we take food orally, and that goes to the pancreas and stimulates insulin secretion. And it also suppresses glucagon secretion. So we have a substance that is released from our intestine, the normal body physiology, and goes to the pancreas and stimulates insulin secretion, right? So that's the main thing. Glucagon-like peptide is the main incretin hormone in humans, which is responsible in in non-diabetics like you and me. Many of us are non-diabetics, some are diabetics. If you take a food, then it stimulates insulin secretion directly by glucose, but also by the passage of incretin hormone, GLP-1, which is secreted from the stomach when we take food, right? Now, the problem with incretin is that GLP-1, it gets inactivated very fast. So we eat food, I take glucose orally, there is a burst of GLP-1, right? But that burst there is a lot of autoregulation in the body by an enzyme called DPP4. Forget the details, just remember DPP4 enzyme that will immediately inactivate this GLP-1. So at least half of this is inactivated within a few minutes. That is body autoregulation. Otherwise, you will have a lot of insulin secretion. So that's how body controls things. So you get a burst of GLP-1 when you eat food, and that lot of it is immediately controlled by the DPP4 enzyme, this is the molecule, and this is how it is cut. So immediately inactivated. A lot of it is inactivated. So it's a complex mechanism, and we won't go into too many details. Just to simplify this, what happens if you inhibit this DPP4 enzyme? And I think this is good to know. What would happen if you were able to inhibit this enzyme that cuts that molecule? If the level will remain high. And the level will remain high, so you will get more insulin secretion. Right? Does that make any sense? So what you could do in treating type 2 diabetes is, either you could give a GLP-1 directly. Just give GLP-1. That's a potent insulin secretagogue, and you can use that, but it's very difficult to use. Although you have drugs like exenatide, which is called Byetta, and new drugs also coming for that, which were GLP-1 like drugs. Right? They act like GLP-1, stimulate the pancreas, increase insulin, suppress glucagon. You could also use another approach where you could inhibit this enzyme that breaks down GLP-1. So whatever GLP-1 my body is making, जो भी मेरे body में बन रहा है GLP-1, उसको अगर breakdown से रोकना है तो DPP4 enzyme को रोक दो. जो उसको destroy कर रहा है उसको destroy कर दो तो अपने आप ही उसका level बढ़ जाएगा. जो normal body GLP-1 है. And if you do that, see what happens. This is injection of food, GI tract, release of incretins from the gut, going to the pancreas. Very simple, right? What happens? If you inhibit this DPP4 enzyme, this is what happens. The GLP-1 level remains high, and there is more insulin secretion from the pancreas. Because the GLP-1 that my body is making is not getting broken down by the enzyme that normally breaks it down. And therefore, you get higher levels of insulin and more, better control of diabetes in the diabetes setting. So there are two new approaches to diabetes, and they are both incretin based. One is to use drugs that act directly on the GLP-1, like GLP-1, that is exenatide or Byetta, as you are well aware of, or to use drugs that will inhibit the enzyme that breaks down GLP-1. In both ways, we are working through the GLP-1 pathway, the incretin pathway, and increasing our insulin secretion, suppressing our glucagon secretion, right? So, and we won't talk much about receptor agonists, but we will talk a little bit about DPP4 inhibitors today because of paucity of time. Again, to simplify, incretin mimetics, drugs that act like GLP-1 directly, like exenatide and liraglutide, or drugs that are incretin enhancers, like sitagliptin, vildagliptin, and sexagliptin, which means the second group of drugs is the one we are talking about, which are DPP4 inhibitors that destroy the enzyme that destroys GLP-1. Right? So you're automatically elevating the level of GLP-1. So today we will use sitagliptin as a prototype because that's been the longest in use and that's shown outstanding results. So we'll just use some data from that. We'll leave that. Basically, if you look at sitagliptin and compare with glipizide, I'm not trying to confuse you. You would compare any new drug with existing drugs, right? So you compare glipizide. Glipizide is a commonly used sulfonylurea. You find it is exactly the same. So when you add to patients on metformin, because almost all your patients will be on metformin, add to a patient on metformin either sitagliptin or glipizide, results are same in terms of lowering of sugar. So it produces the same lowering of sugar as currently available sulfonylureas over a period of time. And the higher the HbA1c you start with, the better the response. See, overall, these drugs will reduce HbA1c by about 1%. So let's say you start at 8, you will probably reach 7. But if you start at 10, you can get reductions of 2 or 3. So a lot of reduction in blood sugar depends on the initial blood sugar. The higher the initial blood sugar, the better the response with these drugs. We'll leave that. So basically here, what we are saying is not only when it's added to metformin, but when it's added to glimepiride plus metformin, this is glimepiride plus metformin patients who were not controlled. Okay, all of you would have patients on combination of metformin and sulfonylurea. That is the most commonly used combination, right? And let's say they are not controlled and they have an A1C of 8 to 8.4. Uncontrolled patients, we all have in a clinical practice who are taking, some glycomet GP2, 1BD or Zoril M20, some combination, Gemel2, something twice a day, right? And yet they are not controlled. And when you add sitagliptin or these DPP4 inhibitors to that, you can see that the A1C comes down very nicely. This is the group where nothing was added. This is the group where gliptins were added. And you can see that both in patients I showed you were on metformin, which is this group, this one. Patients on metformin, when you add sitagliptin, it works as well as glipizide.